Heat in an Indian city at 2 p.m. in May is a physical weight. It shimmers off the pavement, trapping itself between concrete walls, and presses down on every open street. A delivery rider waiting at a traffic signal has no escape. His thick uniform and helmet actively trap his body heat against his skin. Nearby, a construction worker pours concrete over exposed rebar with zero shade. He drinks from a plastic bottle, working through the peak afternoon sun. A weather app might display 42 degrees, but that number is a simplification. It misses the crushing humidity, the heat radiating off asphalt, and the way dense buildings block every breath of wind. On the ground, the body experiences a much more dangerous reality. This environment creates a sharp economic divide. For the wealthy, the heat is a spike in the monthly electricity bill. For the poor, it is a direct cause of lost income, severe dehydration, and physical collapse. When millions must work outdoors to eat, advising them to stay indoors ignores the reality of urban life. This is a failure of city design. Fixing it requires an urban heat survival operating system. Heat is hyperlocal. One shaded avenue might be bearable, while the next straight over, lined with dark asphalt and tin roofs, acts like a furnace. Cities manage this using a heat vulnerability twin. The AI combines satellite temperatures, tree canopy, and demographics to show which blocks reach critical levels. This gives every block a heat address, tagging buildings as elderly risk zones or streets for nighttime heat retention. Most cities already use real-time data to map traffic congestion. Applying that same technology to map human thermal danger is a logical next step for public safety. The people most exposed to extreme temperatures are often the ones least able to stop working. A street vendor or a gig worker cannot simply choose to wait for the sun to go down. Public servants face the same struggle. A traffic police officer in an open intersection relies on a personal umbrella. The surrounding infrastructure offers no relief. Logistics platforms can intervene with an AI heat break scheduler. When neighborhood temperatures spike, the app dynamically narrows a driver's delivery radius and routes them through the city's shaded corridors. This works alongside wage protection triggers. If heat levels cross a red alert threshold, workers receive paid cooling breaks or heat allowances, ensuring they don't have to risk heat stroke to pay for their next meal. A city built on manual labor should regulate heat as a workplace safety violation. Exhaustion in these conditions is a sign of infrastructure failure, not a lack of personal toughness. The danger continues after sunset. Nighttime heat is particularly lethal because it prevents the human body from recovering from the day's stress. Tin and asbestos roofs absorb hours of direct sunlight. Long after dark, they release that energy into cramped, unventilated rooms, turning homes into ovens. Thermal home scores can identify these structures, allowing the city to prioritize the most dangerous housing blocks for immediate intervention. Interventions like reflective paint and passive cooling kits are low cost and highly effective. They drop indoor temperatures enough to allow residents to actually sleep. For those moving through the city, a cool corridor network provides shaded pathways between buildings, ensuring commuters and students aren't forced to walk through heat traps. When a home remains hotter than the street outside, staying indoors becomes a dangerous instruction. It is a sign of a total design failure. Private air conditioning creates a destructive cycle. The units dump hot exhaust into the street and strain the power grid, causing the blackouts that leave the most vulnerable residents in the dark. A more sustainable approach is the cooling commons. This treats thermal comfort as public infrastructure, opening shaded parks, libraries, and cooling shelters to everyone. During heat waves, vulnerable citizens can use cooling credits to access public water ATMs, pick up hydration salts, or use emergency night shelters. As private AC usage stresses the grid for everyone else, individual cooling ceases to be a personal choice. Managed public cooling becomes a necessity for a functioning city. Heat kills quietly through organ stress and exhaustion. Without a systemic response, hospital wards fill with patients whose conditions are the direct result of a city that has become too hot to inhabit safely. Fragmented bureaucracy is the final hurdle. When meteorology, health, and urban planning operate in silos, no single department is held accountable for the survival of the citizens on the street. Resilient cities need a chief heat officer to oversee heat budget tagging. This policy forces every new road, flyover, or housing project to prove it will not increase local temperatures before it is approved. We usually judge a city's development by its skyline, but a more accurate measure of a modern Indian city is whether a child can walk to school in the shade and whether a worker can sleep safely through the night. The best designed Indian cities provide the infrastructure of survival. They allow people to live, work, and travel without being forced to suffer through the heat.